Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Sam's Luther 3 here, and welcome to the Pokemon TCG show about Pokemon TCG stuff. Mix up. That rhymed and it was awesome. But anyway, today we'll be talking about the results from 2012's, not spring, fall, I almost said summer, Battle Roads. There are not summer Battle Roads at all. And yeah, definitely some interesting results. Honestly, not the most unique results, other than one certain deck that did really bad, and I was right about. But other than that, there wasn't really too much amazingly interesting, nothing like a super secret deck that won everything, or really a secret deck at all, or it really wasn't anything. If anything, if there was anything close to a secret deck, it was Empoleon and Selgor, and that's not even a secret deck. So yeah, let's get to the battle results right now. Alright, so let's take a look at the results. Now these results might not be complete, every single battle row, but there's not really a way I can get all of them, so I'll just stick to the results the PokeGym has, and I'll take a bit of things they missed from the Top Cuts results that I noticed. First, let's take a look at all the first place results from Masters. Now I'm not going to be doing seniors or juniors, but just saying that just to make sure everyone knows what I'm talking about. So Electric seems to be the reigning champion here, with just the Rayquaza Electric portion of the wins being just barely ahead of the runner-up Darkrai Hydreigon. 22-21 means they're probably about equals, not too much better or worse than each other. I find it odd that Zekrom is actually the second most popular partner for Electric. Not, Mewtwo or Raikou or Registeel, but Zekrom. It seems like he may have lost a bit of playability nowadays. Bouffalant is much tougher against EXs, and Tool Scrapper gets rid of his Eviolites that made him so beast as I described him, as he was last format. And without Junk Arm, you can only have a maximum of 4 Eviolites, and people usually just run 3. And so without Eviolite, he just becomes so much weaker without them. But he is the most consistent and most versatile against most decks. He's just kind of like the basic does damage guy, as I describe him. I don't know. He just doesn't seem very good to me. We also have a couple of Mewtwo Electrics and one Registeel Mewtwo Electrics, though. So not too much variety in the electric builds. Darkrai Hydreigon seems to be doing very well. It was probably the most hyped deck coming into Battle Roads. It seems to have withstood the hype, if not exceeded it, unlike a certain other deck we'll be talking about. The second most popular Darkrai variant next to Hydreigon is Hammer Time, which again seems kind of odd. Other than Ace's Nationals victory that made the deck so popular, Hammer Time really has not seen much success at all. Maybe just because of the lack of Junk Arm. Sableye had so much more consistency than before, and it may not be the hammers that's giving so much success, but just the amazing consistency he gives. Next, we have many takes on our world-winning deck, Darkrai EX Mewtwo EX Terrakion. Of course, there's like Darkrai Mewtwo, Darkrai Terrakion, Darkrai Mewtwo Terrakion, and all those things. The oddest one being Darkrai Terrakion and Groudon EX. It may just seem like another Darkrai deck that prepares for the other Darkrai decks, but Groudon kinda actually makes sense, since you can use Night Spear damage to hit things on the bench, which gives Groudon EX's Giant Claw more power, enough to KO Hydreigon, Garchomp, and Empoleon, so you might see a combo here, but it's probably was just preparing for the mirror, in all honesty. We also have a Darkrai Zoroark deck. Zoroark does have the power to one-shot Garchomps and Empoleons with a Dark Claw and a full bench of Dark types, so I don't know, he might be okay. As I said in my Ho-Oh EX video, Ho-Oh EX has been doing very well. Most of its wins have been in the first week, all in the same area, so it may just be the same person or group that have perfected that list, but I still like to think it's a very good deck. Empoleon is also doing pretty well, mostly using Pokemon like Terrakion and Stunfisk to take out the Lightning and Dark types that are doing so well. Another deck that's doing very well is Empoleon Estelgor. The main idea for the combo is to use Deck and Cover while using Empoleon not for attack command, but for diving draw to get those Selgors and Double Carlos back in your deck. But you can still use Attack Command as a backup attack, of course. Why would you not use Water and Energy with Empoleon? It also uses Mew EX for Deck and Cover, so you don't have to shuffle in and get back a stage 1 every single turn. Of course, you just leave a Selgor on your bench and then use Mew for your Deck and Cover. We also have Empoleon with Ho-Oh. No clue what the combo is there. It may just be a Ho-Oh deck with Empoleon edited for draw support. You might have to try that one out. Empoleon is just used for draw support. Something to think about. Several different Terrakion decks have been winning events. The most common one being Terrakion EX with Mewtwo EX and Bouffalant. They don't seem to be running the regular Trakion either, so looks like we may have a fairly new archetype on our hands. Something without Trakion that's fighting type. Who knew? We also have one with both Trakions, Groudon, Mewtwo, and one with Shaman EX. This combo doesn't make sense to me. They don't share the same blend energy. Shaman doesn't cover Trakion's weakness or anything. It makes you one of those mix good attackers together and it becomes a good deck type of thing. Not unlike half our Darkrai decks running around. Garbodor is surprisingly doing not too well, especially since 3 of those wins were from the first week. I thought it would be one of our top decks, honestly, this season. It may just be after the first week more people added in Tool Scrapper to take care of it. I know I did. It just, I don't know, it seemed very good and then just kind of plummeted every other week. Of course, some of the Garbodor variants had Trakion, one with Darkrai. You know, what do you know? He's even good without Dark Cloak. Figures. And one with Mewtwo EX and Golurk. Yep. Golurk. And here we have Garchomp with 3 wins. All I can say is, I told you so! Honestly, it did even worse than I thought, and I was against the deck from day 1. It's too slow, weak, fragile, and just not consistent enough to tangle with other top decks. Sorry, Garchomp. All I can say again is, I told you so. It's not even good. Next two are just a mishmash of powerful basics that I can't think of a combo for, so let's just move on. Selgor Gothitelle is doing not very good, and I don't think anyone really expected to do very good. And last, and maybe least, we've had Klinklang EX deck, of course, our Nationals winning deck. I assume the reason it didn't do better is because it's just essentially worse Hydreigon. So basically, Hydreigon became Klinklang, Klinklang became Meganium Prime, and Meganium Prime became what Hydreigon was, illegal. So, yeah. Klinklang, you're the new Meganium Prime, sorry. There's just, like, very little reason. And now for the top 4, for all those X and 1s that didn't have a chance because of the top cut being cut, snicker, from Battle Roads. Electric, yet again, is on top, but the percentage of them that was Rayquaza EX variants went down tremendously, which either means it's not as good as we thought it was from just the first place results, or it's being played less than Zekrom Electric and Hydreigon, and it's simply performing better. 2 other electric decks that popped up were Trakion Mewtwo Electric, which is kind of like the type of electric deck that was commonly used during Nationals, that was meant to counter all the Darkrai decks at the time, and Thundurus Electric. Personally, really like Thundurus, and hopefully this is the low point of his format rather than the high point. But considering the road it's going to be taking, I doubt it will be its low point. Darkrai Hydreigon is still going strong, in fact, very strong. If you separate all the electric decks, Hydreigon would win in the X1 competition, so you're slightly below perfect, Hydreigon. Darkrai decks are doing pretty well. This time, Darkrai Mewtwo Trakion pulled through the Hammer Time decks. We also have a few straight Darkrai's, which was referred commonly by some as the Tom Dozel's Darkrai deck last format, as the super consistent screw-tex version of Darkrai decks. A few Darkrai Zoroarks and 1 Darkrai Tornadus. Yeah, remember this guy? Not sure if it's the EX Tornadus that Darkrai used to be BFFs with, or the regular Tornadus that is just used to be a Sigilyph counter. Garbodor's got quite a few more top 4s under his belt than wins. Well, everything does, but you get what I mean. Including some ones with Substrika, so again, Garbodor could be one of those decks just better at being slightly below perfect, rather than a regular perfect deck. And we have a lot of different Trakion decks here. The Trakion Mewtwo Bouffalant one is still performing well. Then there's all the combinations of both Trakions, Mewtwo, Groudon, a couple with Tornadus in them, similar to the old Troll deck. One with Aerodactyl and Tornadus, kind of going for that Tornadus Donk type thing. And one with Archeops. Looks like the stored Pokemon are doing quite nicely. Probably better than anyone expected, so. Stored Pokemon are always cool. Ho-Oh is doing approximately the same in wins as top 4s. Poliwhirl with Fighting Misogor are both doing fine. No Ho-Ohs in sight. Well, gee, I wonder why that is. Garchomp is again doing pretty sloppy. Selgor Gothitelle is doing pretty well compared to its win ratio, actually. Klinklang is also doing pretty decent. Durant, what? And one with Garbodor? Sweet. Chandelure Darkrai has got a couple top 4s as well. When the heck will Chandelure just leave us alone? It always seems to be floating around somewhere, even when you don't notice it. And this looks like the secret rare is going to be keeping it alive, so we'll have it for a few more formats. Last few one-offs include Tornadus Mewtwo. Someone just can't let go of their CMT, can they? Stunfisk Tornadus for so much donktasticness. Six Corners, oh yeah, that guy. Bet no one remembers him. Aggron, not sure if it was with Sableye or Durant or anything else about it really, just Aggron. Landorus, looks like he split up from Terrakion. Gothitail Gardevoir Mewtwo EX, and Roserade Zoroark Mew EX, both of which I don't really know what's up with them. So, what have we learned here? We've learned that I'm finally right about predicting the metagame. I was completely off about Mewtwo EX and Darkrai EX when they came out. Then I'm right about both Rayquaza Electric and Garchomp. Then, that Ho-Oh is good, that Terrakion can be paired with pretty much anything. Anything. And not in the way that it used to be, where it was a tech and everything. Now everything's a tech and Terrakion. It's like opposite day. Entei isn't good and didn't do anything. And then people will bring back anything that died off when the EXs came out. Six Corners, Chandelure, Durant, blah 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 blah. Now for the part of the video where I talk about the tier list, at least what I think it is. I haven't really seen any tier lists online, or anywhere really, so I don't have much to base this around, other than Battle Royale results and what I've faced and think how well decks are. So here they are, in order of course. Now it may look like there's not much here, that's because this is just the main, everyone knows them type decks. I'll also be looking at some decks that could get better as the metagame develops. Rayquaza Electric is my pick for our best deck. It's really just a big pain to fight against because of its just sheer power that it has. You can't just max potion its damage away and act like their turn did nothing. Regret their electrics. In a couple turns, your most powerful thing in the field is going to die, and there's very little you can do to stop it. It takes advantage of our EX-infested format so well. If you don't have Dragon types, or you have EXs in your deck, this is a very tough deck to face. Even decks you think would be really good, like Darkrai, which is tremendous against Electric, it's still pretty bad against it. So, it's just a really hard deck to stop. Darkrai Dragon, again, I think it's also tier 1. It's very, very slightly below. It's very, very tough to face as well. You need to be able to one-hit KO things. They will almost always have a max potion to kill it off. Being able to one-hit KO their Hydreigon also helps a great deal. Just be sure not to attack into their Darkrai's while they have Hydreigon out, or able to get Hydreigon out next turn, or have another Darkrai on the bench with energy. But the deck's not perfect. It's pretty slow to set up, due to it being a stage 2 deck, and it relies on a lot of item cards to work properly. So, I mean, it's still very good. It's, in my opinion, it's just below Rayquaza Electric in terms of playability. It's still very, very good in this format. Even though Zekrom Electric got more wins than regular Darkrai, I think Darkrai is probably the better deck. Darkrai is Darkrai. It's one of our best attackers. It can stick whatever it wants in there because, well, he's a Darkrai. It's a whole deal faster than Hydreigon and can even fit an energy switch to mimic its Hydreigon counterpart. And Zekrom Electric is still a good deck, but it's pretty bad against all of the top decks. It usually has a lot of EXs for Rayquaza EX to take advantage of. It can't really one-hit KO anything in Hydreigon unless you run Zekrom EX. And Darkrai just destroys you if you don't have an answer to it, like Rayquaza or Terrakion, which both are not going to be used in regular Electric. Duh. For the tier 1.5s, Ho-Oh is really good. Trust me. It can turn a field of 128 CX with no energy into a fully powered Terrakion just like that. It also has so many options for each matchup, it's just a great deck. But it's not quite tier 1. I was pretty tempted to put it in tier 1, but just the other four just performed so much better. So, it's in tier 1.5. Terrakion is still good against all the top decks, and it now has Bouffalant for so many other matchups, and Mewtwo is just awesome. Groudon EX also is not too bad now either. Empoleon gains so much power with the drop of good supporters. Diving Draw is so good in so many different ways. With all the space it has for not needing to put many supporters in, you can fit it in fighting Pokemon, Roserade, Mew EX, a Selgor all at once, except for that Selgor part. It's just a really strong deck in my opinion. Now for our tier 2s. I almost put Garbodor in tier 1.5, but then I realized that there would only be one deck in tier 2 if I did that, so here we are. With Tool Scrapper getting so popular, Garbodor just isn't as powerful as the others, even though it has the power of Terrakion behind it, or sometimes Darkrai. It's just that hard to get the round lock. And finally, we have Garchomp. Oh, Garchomp. You were hyped so much, and then you just did so bad. It just doesn't have enough power. Darkrai makes such quick work of it, and it just falls apart so easily. I just don't see this deck doing very well, honestly. Even with all the Wickraza EX hype, well, all the hype I'm giving it. Now for some decks that aren't exactly mainstream, but I think will definitely be coming back to bite people who haven't tested against them. I'm pretty sure everyone saw the combo of Basilgor got the tail right away, but it didn't perform very well. I think that it's far from a lost cause. Decks just become so much weaker. You can't use random receiver to get supporters. It just has them, and it can still use them itself, unlike the Vileplume decks. That is, of course, a big downfall. It does have to fit in items and those Pokemon, so that's a problem. Maybe when Dusknoir comes out, it will be a very, very good deck. If you guys don't see the combo, look it up. But right now, may not be fantastic. Klinklang is pretty much Hydreigon, but for the other blend energy. A fully heavy ballable line. All we need is a good Steel Tiger, and we've got a decent deck on our hands. Cobalion EX and the new Klinklang EX from Plasma Gale might be enough to get this deck going, but for now it suffers too heavily from Enhanced Hammer and just can't use Darkrai as well as Hydreigon. Not to mention, no energy type that Klinklang can move gets him free retreat from Darkrai. So if you really like Groudon EX and Kyogre EX, then go for it. And now, Durant. Yes, I think this deck has potential. I've played with it, and against it, and it is so freaking annoying. I finally understand it. It even has some qualities it didn't have before. Because everyone has probably forgotten how to play against it. You know, not benching many things, not using many supporters. These were all common things people used against Durant. It may suffer from too awful a matchup to Darkrai decks, but it's just way too good against a lot of other decks, especially Eels. Trust me, I've suffered through many a game with Eels against Durant, and it's not fun. Time for another mill deck. Aggron has the perk over Durant of being able to use Sableye while milling your opponent. Sableye can get back your devolution sprays and hammers, even more disruptive than Durant, but it does take a lot of space to put Aggron in there. It might also gain some popularity because of Puka, a very famous person who works for the Top Cut, using it quite often in his TCGO streams, and, you know, Puka is just apparently awesome. He put Vanillix back into the meta before Nationals, so, yeah. I think people just listen to Puka. And finally we have Chandelure Darkrai. If Darkrai taught us anything, it's that spread damage is very powerful. If you can get 2 Chandelures out turn 2, you can KO your opponent's weak basics. You also have the power of using Tropical Beach to make sure your hand is always big at the end of your turn. Sorry, hooligans. You just can't stop the power of Tropical Beach. That is, if you can of course afford it. Tropical Beach is like 50 plus bucks. Hope this video helped a lot of you guys decide what to play test, and play test against for regionals. Here's a hint. Play test against Rayquaza and Hydreigon. I hear they're pretty good.
And that's going to do it for today's episode. And yeah, Pikachu head's here. What of it? And so yeah, that's Battle Road results. So definitely looking forward to regionals after this. After whatever. Regionals is soon, and I'm excited for it. Let's go with that. Yeah, the reason I'm wearing the Pikachu hat is just to show you if you see me at regionals, you'll know I'm wearing this, because I always wear this. And I'll also be wearing this, because it's like my team's like signature thing. Apparently I'm part of Team Wilmington, which is a boring name, but it's true. Half of us don't even live in Wilmington. I don't even live in Wilmington. But anyway, yeah. That's because that's where our league is. But yeah, regional is definitely super excited for it. If you see me, say hi because it makes me happy inside. And if you're a master and won't run into me, then say hi to my mom because she'll be playing in masters. And she'll probably be doing really, really bad. Yeah, she's not amazing, but at least she has 4 catchers now. Yay. Anyway, yeah. So, next week, probably going to go back to the Rogue concepts. This one, that's definitely one of my old favorites. There's 2 ways. Actually, there's 2 decks. The next 2 decks I'm going to be looking at are both old favorites of mine, but this first one is definitely one of my favorite decks. And one of my favorite cards that we've gotten. And I'm really sad it's not doing better. So, see you guys next time for more Pokemon TCG show about Pokemon TCG stuff mix up. Later.